Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a new day in Westgate. As of this morning, all firearms are banned from the city limits of this town. And just as our citizens are banned from operating and carrying firearms, you are the city's finest and must utilize discipline in apprehending lawbreakers. Your firearms are your secondary backup and your primary weapon of choice in apprehending violent subjects is unarmed combat. The department has acquired special services from Agent Delman George Oyata. Officer Oyata is a pressure point specialist who can render a man totally unconscious. And with no further ado, I'd like to present Officer Delman George Oyata.
Thank you, Mr. Alicia. My job is to teach you pressure points and explain exactly what makes a pressure point a pressure point. People have these areas all over the human body, and the pressure points are actually going to be nerves in the human body to you as policemen. A pressure point is where a nerve does the letter Y in the human body. A pressure point is where two nerves cross in the human body. And a pressure point is where a nerve ends in the human body. The most important part of learning pressure points is to follow the angle and direction.
I've arrested numerous perps that were under the influence of alcohol. Would something like this work on them as well?
Drugs and alcohol affect the head. In fact, let me explain something with you. Come up here while I have you. Just get on your knees here 1 minute for me. Put the head here. The energy in the body is divided in 4 sections. Imagine the body cut in 4, like 4 pieces of pie, all the way down the body. This section of the piece of pie is negative electricity. He's wired exactly the same way this room is wired. Positive, negative, and it meets in the circuit box. His spinal cord is his circuit breaker, his circuit box. The nerves come off of there and feed throughout of all of this body, giving off positive and negative electricity. If he faces me and I grab him by the hair to try to control him, to handcuff him or put him in the van, he can resist a grab on this side. He can resist me. If I grab him on this side, he can resist if I pull. But if I reach this hand to the opposite corner or quadrant and grab, he can try to resist, but I can spin him around, control him, and throw him backwards. But at the top of the ear is a little cartilage. There's not only a cartilage, but there's a receptor and a neural engine to monitor that cartilage. If I take a hold of his ear and just cock my hand, he will go backwards and I will have control of him within a split second. If I take any of these knuckles and go where you take the pulse and rub, this is what happens, and the fist opens up. It extends. If he grabs a hold of me, all I need to do is when I rub here, it releases and his knees will bend. The larger the area he grabs, the easier it is to do the pressure point, because the more he stretches his own nerve. So it makes the rubbing easier, and it brings him towards me for the ear or the hair into the paddy wagon. End of the tension, let your hands drop naturally. Where everyone's middle finger touches the middle of his thigh is actually a pressure point. It's right here, and when I do this, this is what happens, and to bring it back, you just re-smack it. And what is happening when I press up is the little Y in the ulnar nerve will go like this, and actually will pinch his nerve and he'll get some pain out of it. So if I tried to bend the wrist, I get nothing. But if I do this and touch, I get instant pain, I get control of my opponent. But if I know to take my fingers and go underneath because that nerve needs touched, I'm going to compress that nerve. If I know to do that, his wrist is going to bend the way you just witnessed. I'm going to remove him from my grab like that and have control of my opponent's wrist, fist, and actually the same spot. When pressure is put on it, he goes down.
Members of the CIA just informed me that we're going to be the recipient of a large contract. And it would benefit all of you.
I don't quite understand what you're talking about, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have to draw you a picture? We are going to be the distribution center for drugs.
But isn't that illegal? We could all go to jail for that.
Relax. We are under what they call government immunity, if you know what I mean.
As far as the police chief is concerned, I'm Special Agent Dylan George out of Washington, D.C., here to teach pressure points.
Good. I have information that the CIA is involved in a money scheme to use Westgate as a drug distribution center. Proceeds from sales of various chemical substances will be diverted to a fund to finance revolutions in third world countries.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mr. X, my boss, and yours too, is interested in who is involved in the conspiracy and wants them brought to justice. That's your job.